What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new Dragon Ball Legends video on Dragon Ball Central. Today, we have got a topic that's somewhat loaded to talk about, and I really want to discuss this with some nuance because there's a lot to mention and a lot to really talk about as far as future game features are concerned. But basically, it all boils down to the fact that I believe very strongly that this can be the best gacha game ever created in all of the App Store ever. Let's get right into it. There are a lot of things that go into making a good gacha game, and obviously we've seen, some really bad examples of gacha games and some really good examples of gacha games, and also some gacha games that probably aren't very good at their core but still garnered a huge community that's very dedicated to them. So let's sort of dissect that today, talk about all the different things that make up a gacha game, and then why I think that Dragon Ball Legends is actually going to be, or could be, if they add certain features, one of the best ones of all time. So first and foremost, guys, I think the most important thing to define a gacha game is the actual gacha system. So that means that you're going to be summoning or acquiring something in some way with a premium paid currency. That's really what it boils down to. And some of them are relatively predatory, some of them are not so predatory, some of them are free-to-play friendly, and some of them are not free-to-play friendly. And really, I think that Legends strikes the balance very well between both sides. Obviously, the limit break system means that someone that wants to whale out, spend thousands of dollars on the app, and just get the best teams possible will have a sizable advantage over, your typical free-to-play player. At the same time, definitely a free-to-play player can accomplish a lot. Actually, at this point in time, I've barely spent any money on this game, and I've been covering it since it came out over 2 channels. So I really do think that this is one of the most free-to-play friendly games ever as far as gacha games are concerned. And the really great part about that is that it actually has a PvP end game. At least, that's the only end game we have right now, where they're sort of expecting players to go from, when they start out the game, they're obviously going to go through the typical gameplay loop of, you summon your characters, and maybe you get a really cool team that you really like, you max them out level-wise, you go and you farm events and everything like that, you get a lot of currency, you get a lot of Rising Souls and Super Souls, you get them maxed out soul boost-wise, and then you take them, once they're maxed out, once you got everything as high stat-wise as it possibly can go, into some PvP action. Now, PvP endgame definitely is not something very new to gacha games, but something so accessible like this, something that has a combat system where it's not necessarily determined by how much money you spend, but by how skillful you are in executing different techniques, I definitely think is a really fantastic thing. I've been absolutely decimated by teams that cost most likely very little time and very little money to actually get to a decent level. I'm talking about, your Ginyu Force teams. I'm talking about the Hybrid Saiyan teams. I'm talking about even the OG Saiyan teams that came out when the game first came out. I'm talking about base form Vegeta with the Scouter. I'm talking about, your Super Saiyan Red Goku. And really, the support that they had in the beginning, it's still relevant today if you're a good player. Now, at the top level, maybe not. But at the same time, you can run into ratings matches and get to literally the top battle rank with the first team that was meta in this game. And that is very impressive and not something that many gacha games can actually say after just about 100 days on the market. With that said, we can actually go over to the shop and check out some pricing. Now, another main thing is that you want it to be accessibly priced, where you can get a decent amount of the paid currency, not too much of it, but enough of it to feel like you actually have a chance of getting things that you want in the game through gameplay and through being able to spend just small amounts of money through sales and things like that. Now, this is the one thing I think kind of goes against Dragon Ball Legends, is after you actually knock out these first-time sales, then Chrono Crystals are expensive. The premium currency, the paid currency, is very expensive. You're gonna have to spend a lot of money to actually have a significant amount gained from your purchases. $41 for 2,000 Chrono Crystals, that is over $20, especially once you include tax and everything, for literally one multi-summon. Okay, that's 10 characters, and albeit, a single character is much more valuable in this game, going down to your heroes and your extremes, than in, I guess, the lower rankings in other games, even going so far as comparing it to Dokkan, which I know a lot of people do very often. A lot of SRs and Rs, most of them actually, I can't even think of an example of one that's actually useful for anything other than fodder, really. And I haven't played religiously in a while, but like at the same time, most of the lower rarity things in Dokkan are completely useless apart from being able to be sold or used as fodder for, you know, currency or for just leveling up your own characters. In this case, heroes are actually usable sometimes, especially as support, and extremes, some of them are actually amazing. We just got Dodoria and Zarbon, and both of them actually outrank quite a few Sparkings, which is pretty ridiculous. You know, the top rarity is not necessarily going to beat out lower rarities, especially if the team is synergy based. You know, you can have a Frieza Force extreme team and it can actually take out, you know, a good stuff team that just has really good Sparkings but not necessarily having really any synergies with their Z abilities or anything like that. So if you get down to the nitty gritty here, it's really pretty accessible, and every summon has an inherent value to it. Even if it's not going to be a lot, maybe you don't get what you want out of it, you're still probably going to be getting a few things here and there that you're going to be able to use to some degree of success in a PvP scenario, because the lower rarities are actually pretty fantastic. So will significant power creep make it into this game? I would argue it already has. You know, going so far back to when we saw Broly get introduced to the game with the first Legends Rising banner, I definitely think that he was ridiculously overpowered at that point, but with the introduction of Bardock and Instant Transmission Goku lately, I mean, he's kind of fallen out of favor in the meta, and he's basically non-existent on most meta teams, if not all meta teams. So really what I have to say is that power creep is going to be in pretty much every gacha game, especially competitive endgame gacha games that focus on getting you into a PvP scenario where you're being competitive with other players. I definitely think that that's going to happen. With that said, I think that it's probably one of the better examples of gacha games with power creep because, again, going so far back, like, we're going to see synergies rise as time goes on. You know, we saw the Saiyan team rise immediately because there was a lot of synergy that allowed it to have a lot more power than every other team. As we've moved on, the Android team has sort of picked up speed, picked up wind, and they're very, very powerful now. They definitely can take out a lot of opposing teams with ease. We're seeing other tags start to get support. We got the regeneration tag that's going to be becoming even more relevant once we get the booze, I would imagine. And then obviously the Frieza Force tag with the extremes that just came out, I definitely think has a lot of speed, you know, wind in their sails, so to speak. I definitely think there's a lot of options starting to become relevant as time goes on. And they will only get more options down the road as we get more unique abilities, more unique main abilities, more unique Z abilities, unique abilities, everything in the game basically. Really, there's a lot of new things that come out that make each individual character unique as these banners are being released. And it's not necessarily just a core power creep. So maybe, for example, the feint on Broly becomes a little bit more valuable later on for some reason. And then he comes back into favor in the meta because he's got a bunch of support that boosts his power from his Z ability and from other Z abilities, and maybe his feint becomes again more valuable enough so that his inherent lack of stat boosts are going to not necessarily be noticed. Now guys, what do I think needs to be added to this game for it to be overall the best gacha game? Well, mainly PvE stuff. You know, obviously I want some more out of PvP. I want some legitimate tournaments. I want to see some spectating. I want to see replays. I want to see things like that where we can see, you know, people going at it and maybe even see like higher tier players and how they're able to sort of win matches, the techniques they use and things like that. I think that'd be really fantastic. Maybe increasing the amount of rewards you get at the highest level and then making it so it's a little bit more rewarding to actually get to the 50th battle rank, which is your legendary ranking, your top ranking. It just doesn't feel like it's that big of a reward at this point to get there and stay there, and it is somewhat of a grind to actually get there in the first place. So I do think it's pretty important that they do increase high tier rewards. And obviously, you know, 1,000 chrono crystals for rank 1 in the world, 1 million zenny and 2,000 rare metals, that's ridiculous. That is not at all worth it. It is beyond me how they think it's worth it at all to give that little as far as rewards are concerned to someone that probably spent a ridiculous amount of money and then spent a ridiculous amount of time figuring out how to play the game perfectly. I mean, I think it's just kind of stupid that they have so little rewards. I think it should probably be a lot higher than that. Let me know what you think about that down in the comment section below, but that's just my idea. I think that they need to increase PvP rewards if that's going to be the end game. There's one more thing we have to talk about, though. PvE, my friends. PvE is so important to most gacha games, and obviously it makes it so more casual players are going to enjoy the game. And I think that it's super, super important that they continue to increase the content that we have as PvE players, as more casual players, because PvP players are going to be, you know, a different breed. They're going to be the hardcore players that are really involved with the strategy of the game, making sure that they min-max their characters and things like that. But you want to have a really nice end game for players that aren't focused on min-maxing their characters. They just want to get on, play with their favorite characters in Dragon Ball, and then just be done with it when they're done with it. And the grind isn't necessarily something that's going to be super alluring for them. And they've made a lot of changes that make it so the grind is a lot quicker. At the same time, we need to have some sort of PvE end game. So I'm thinking raids. I'm thinking, you know, hardcore Super Battle Road-esque type of story missions or events. I think that things like that would definitely go a long way in convincing a lot of the Dokkan community to switch over to Legends, because right now they feel super invested in a game that's sort of a little bit more casual. I've talked about this a little bit before, but it's a little more casual. It's a little bit more laid back. You don't necessarily expect to be competing with every other player in the game unless you're in a world tournament situation, and even then, it's not true PvP. At the same time, we've got legitimate PvP action in this game, but we don't have very much as far as your, you know, PvE end game is concerned. And I really hope that they do add something like that, some cooperative gameplay, or even just straight up really, really difficult stuff as far as the end game for Dragon Ball Legends is concerned. And at that point, I think they probably win the race to the end as far as the best gacha game that has ever been made. Now, if you guys have any other opinions on this, I'd love to hear them down in the comment section below. Do you think Dragon Ball Legends could get there? Do you not think it can get there above another gacha game, maybe one that I've never even played before and have no idea about? Let me know what your favorite gacha game is and why down in the comment section below. And what do you think the best overall gacha game, even if you don't play it anymore, even if you don't play it at all, is, and why in general? Otherwise, guys, that's probably going to be about it for this one. We do have a couple summons to do, so we'll do these YOLO summons and just end off the video there. We've got, obviously, our Master Pack 1 that we're going to be doing for the next 3 months, which is actually somewhat exciting because we're going to be able to hopefully get a few Sparkings that we definitely have not gotten at this point. We're grabbing a 1-potter Super Saiyan, so we're basically guaranteed Extreme or above. We're getting beat up. We got big text, so it's kind of up in the air. It's probably going to be an Extreme, though. I think we're getting an Extreme. Blowing up the middle, we're almost guaranteed for an Extreme right now. And it's going to be first form Cell. Actually, not okay with that very much at all, because we can get a lot of a Z power right now just for doing the normal PvP and then adventures that you're going to get from PvP. And yeah, it's definitely not going to be too impactful to only get 250 Z power from him. So, you know what? Kind of underwhelming. Probably about the worst Z power we could have gotten out of that banner. But you know what? That's fine. We got 3-potter here. No Super Saiyan, no Destroy Dynamic, as you guys can see. But 3 pods, definitely relatively promising. We are going in for the win, man. Winning the Clash and going in for the guaranteed Extreme or above. We have got some really solid summons today. We're going to blow up in the middle. So we are looking okay. And it's going to be Android 17. Actually, we will absolutely take this one. Getting him up to 3-star limit break. Fantastic stuff, guys. Actually, a huge fan of this. Because his Z power, as you guys are about to see, going to be a double buff to Element Red, which is pretty decent. I will absolutely take it. Not too bad at all. He's a decent, you know, red element support. And I think that down the line, we're going to see some really, really fun mono element teams. Moving on forward, again, I would have rather had Super Vegeta or Super Trunks, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. Let's go ahead and hop into our Ultra Space Time Summon number 4. And are we going to end it off? We've got 1 pod. So you're saying there's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. Come on. Going neutral in the Clash. And small text. Yeah, we got a hero. I was going to say, there's no way we're ending this one out that well. There's just no way, man. It's going to be a dead Goku. He is fried and roasted. And we're going to grab a second form Cell. Actually, a character I don't have yet. I think that he's actually pretty decent. We'll go ahead and check him out. I haven't gotten him, so Z ability not great. Main ability not great. Blast attack up. Okay. It's okay. He's not great. His Extreme, I think, is the one that people are talking about. So, you know, Hero's not going to be great, but at the same time, getting a whole lot of characters, we will absolutely take it. Gives me a lot of options for future content, which I'm a huge fan of. But yeah, guys, if you have any ideas for future Dragon Ball Legends videos you'd like to see, Let me know down in the comment section below, or just Dragon Ball videos in general. I'm going to be doing a lot on this channel. As you guys know, we've been trying a few different things. I did some unboxings and things like that. That was kind of fun. So let me know if you want to see some more of that. But otherwise, that'll be it for this one. Until next one, guys, have a fantastic day. Peace.